On Sunday, April 18th, 2021, 12 clubs announced that they would be forming a European Super League. And everyone lost their shit.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through them.
Welcome back to another episode of the Problems on Problems podcast. I am your host, Mike Santi, and like the intro says, we got some things to talk about, especially in regards to the rise and fall of the European Super League. So, like we talked about earlier, on Sunday, 12 clubs being, I don't want to get this one wrong, AC Milan, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Tottenham announced that they would be forming a European Super League in which they would be the founding members. They would look for 15 total founding members, and then all hell broke loose, mainly because of the way the league was set up, where it was supposed to be a midweek competition, but it would be amongst 20 teams, with the 15 founding teams not being able to be relegated in any form of competition. And I already know my audience. I already know my audience isn't too soccer friendly. That's fine, demographics and such. But the reason why this was going to be crazy and why it's been all over your newsfeed this week is because the European soccer pyramid model basically allows for lower tier clubs to win their leagues and get promoted to the league ahead of them or the league above them over and over and over again, which then leads you to the very top of the pyramid, which is the English Premier League or Barclays Premier League back in the day. I can't remember anymore, but yes, the English Premier League. And on top of that, most European soccer models work the same way, where the bottom X amount of teams, bottom 3 to 4 teams, they get relegated down to the division below, based off of their record, and then the top 3 or 4 teams get promoted up to the next level. And you have this kind of dynamic where if you suck, you get kicked out of the league and have to go play with the quote unquote lesser than teams. And so it creates all this drama with soccer where if your team gets relegated, they have to earn their way back. But then on top of that, the UEFA Champions League is another league in which they take X amount of the top teams based off of where you finish in your league. So the top teams from the English Premier League, the Serie A in Italy, the Primera División in Spain, but all of their Premier Leagues and a bunch of other countries like the Bundesliga in Germany, La Ligue in France. You have a bunch of these places where the top teams based off of where they finished in the previous season would then qualify for the Champions League tournament, which is a midweek tournament amongst all the top teams in Europe. But crazy thing, you have to qualify to get in. You have to win your way into it. Whereas this new Super League would basically just say, hey, if you got enough money, we'll let you in. And it made it a very American model, which is what I had a problem with. Now, I will be the first person to tell you that when it comes to American professional sports, I'm not really about it in the sense that there really is no consequence for performing poorly. Like, yes, there's a championship at the end of every season and everything like that, but the idea of a season-long playoff where literally the team that performed the best that year could potentially still run the risk of losing to a team that didn't do so well but just had a hot streak going into playoffs. So that was my biggest issue with it. But then also, I do think that the MLS is boring. I say that as a season ticket holder for Charlotte FC, but comparatively to European soccer, I think American soccer is boring in the sense that there is no consequence for poor performance. You just fire somebody or sign some new people, but there is no kind of like ownness when it comes to you did poorly. We're just going to see the same 32 teams or 30 teams next season. no biggie kind of thing. Whereas with European soccer, it could be all over the place. Like, you might not see a team for the next like 3 or 4 years if they're just still on a division below you and just performing poorly. But then on top of that, it's the qualifying for the Champions League and things like that made it so that you had to earn your way in and you couldn't just use your wallet to get in. And so that caused a lot of outrage to the point where, and mind you, having this announcement come out on the Sunday afternoon, I guess, Eastern Standard Time, but Sunday evening going into like late Sunday night over in the UK where most of the story broke. It's probably the worst timing ever. Like, you're coming off the back of or not even off the back, you're coming and making this announcement during a global pandemic where people have lost enough money, lost jobs. Some clubs have had to close their doors just because they couldn't afford to keep it open anymore, only to say that, hey, we as rich billionaires, which I will say the biggest critique has been that they're predominantly American owners or ownership groups, but we as billionaires who like to make more money are here to, and I believe the statement came out that these teams' responsibilities were to maximizing revenue first, then their responsibility to the health of the sport or to the fans came second, which as a sports fan, you know that's complete trash, that's complete bullshit, and it's enough to make you lose your mind. So Monday comes along, and not only are fans outraged, pundits are outraged. The English government is outraged in the sense that they're threatening legal action against the 6 teams, and they call them the Big Six, but honestly I have a whole other side tangent about the Big Six, mainly being the likes of Tottenham and Arsenal, who are currently trash, and yet they think they're quote-unquote worthy. I'm not saying that they're not worthy or anything like that, but to be a team that isn't even in the Champions League currently, to then say that you want better competition, I don't know, maybe qualify for a better competition. Maybe you not qualifying is enough of a message to say that, hey, you don't actually need better competition, you just need to get better. But that's just me, my opinion. What do I know? I'm just a guy. So UEFA had meetings, FIFA had meetings, like threatening to ban players, threatening to ban teams from leagues, players from international competition, all this stuff, to really deaf ears, in the sense that the owners did not care because they were going to do what was the most beneficial to their wallets. That was on Monday morning. Jose Mourinho, former manager of Tottenham, was fired, according to spokespeople at Tottenham. It was because of performance, even though Jose's record would prove otherwise. But they said that it was strictly for performance, not anything to do with his outward and very public disagreement with such a league in the past. Like the likes of managers, the likes of Jurgen Klopp for Liverpool, the main reason why they won a league title, speaking out against it. Pep Guardiola from Manchester City speaking out against it. A lot of these big name managers really just not having it. But Jose Mourinho was the only casualty of this on Monday morning. Tuesday rolls along, and captains of the English Premier League teams that have joined the Super League team, as well as other captains of the English Premier League team, were meeting with owners and the league basically to voice their concerns or voice their opinions on the matter. And by Tuesday afternoon, news then broke that Chelsea, one of the founding 12, and Manchester City, another one of the founding 12, were going to withdraw or start the process to formally withdraw themselves from the league. And then the dominoes just started falling. From there, it was just club after club after club were announcing that they were leaving. And in the midst of this, Manchester United posted a statement that said their vice chair was going to resign at the end of this season, but I think it was actually more immediate than that. And so by 5:57 Eastern Standard Time, all 6 English Premier League teams had withdrawn from the Super League, leaving the other 6 teams basically to just kind of pick up the pieces. And really, there aren't many pieces to pick up. especially in the last 48 hours. But they released a statement saying that they will consider the most appropriate steps to reshape the project. And to that I say kind of good riddance, in the sense that this does not help soccer. This doesn't help football. This doesn't help the idea of true sport, in the sense that you have to earn your way to the elite level. You don't just get to buy your way. And that's always been my biggest critique for American sports, is that a lot of them are really just based off of rich owners who their biggest interest is running a business, which, I mean, the NBA is definitely a very successful business. The NFL, another very successful business. But English football, European football is a sport, a world-renowned sport, with the top of the top when it comes to clubs, players, and talent. And to basically try and change that model to an American style model where it just depends on how much money you have, and that's the only qualification to competition, and not actually results. It concerns me for the future of, wow, I just unleashed, but it concerns me for the future of the sport, in that this wasn't just an overnight thing. These owners were definitely planning this, and we've heard rumblings of a Super League for years now, and it was just Sunday that they decided to pull the trigger on it and make the announcement. But I don't think it's going to stop greedy owners from trying to line their pockets more. And so to that, we kind of hope that today and the almost dismantling of this European Super League, or this rich boys club, which again does not have anything to do with the clubs or their history, in the sense that the staff members, board members, were even voicing their concerns to the media, saying that they didn't want a part of the Super League. Even players and managers had said they didn't want it. Anybody who enjoyed the sports didn't want it. The only people that were for it were those who were looking at it as another means of revenue, or an extra means of revenue. And to that, honestly, the only thing left to say is that, like, football will forever be for the fans, and the fans spoke up. The work is still not done yet, in the sense that fans should continue to be united in all of this. But we'll see what happens with this idea of a Super League, and we'll kind of see how these 6 teams that publicly almost denounced the English Premier League to try and get some more competition, or some more competition, really just more money. We'll see what kind of penalties, what kind of fines, what kind of consequences they'll have really returning to the English Premier League, in the sense that all of this has just happened in 48 hours. And in current events today, I mean, this week, really, the biggest story in America was the reading of the verdict in the Derek Chauvin case. For those of you that don't know, Derek Chauvin was one of the officers charged with the death of George Floyd in the now infamous video of a white officer, Derek Chauvin, holding his knee to the neck of George Floyd, who was restrained, who then proceeded to keep his knee on this man for over 8 minutes. The same guy that guy, his verdict was today, and the jury of his peers found him guilty on all 3 counts: second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd, which, honestly, there have been 2 times in this entire situation, or case, if you want to call it, that I genuinely came to tears. The first one was watching that video of a man being, in my opinion, murdered in public, a public execution of a man who was restrained. And then today, with the almost relief, I would say, of hearing the guilty verdicts, not in the sense that I would celebrate the punishment of a man, or the idea that another man is going to go to jail, because, like it's been said so many times, it would be a lot better if George Floyd was still alive. And I know I try not to get too political. I try and not get too political on here, but it's not politics, honestly. Human rights and the expectation or the audacity of equality is not politics. It's a human issue. And if you have a problem with that, then you have a problem with me, because we won't see eye to eye on many other things. But that being said, the relief that I got as a person of color was that the jury sent a message that said George Floyd's life mattered. And having seen the entire spectrum of behavior towards people of color, honestly, and hearing a people scream from the top of their lungs that our lives matter, it's relieving. It's not the end, and it's not justice, but it's the first step towards some kind of progress in the history of this country, where, if anything, it's accountability. It's accountability for officers, and a message to law enforcement everywhere that you can't act in this type of regard towards anybody and expect to get away with it. And like I said, the work's not done yet. There's still a long way to go, but this is definitely a significant step in the history of our country. And so I'll leave you guys with that and try and take a break before doing some malarkey. Yeah, drama, and then, weekly polls and the wrap up. But we'll be right back.
P.O.P.
And we're back with the only segment we're going to do for the wrap up, the great debate. I know you're probably wondering why if you're this far into the video, props to you, love you. You're one of the OGs. When I do all this free merch and all these drops and everything like that, I'll be sending you some merch for sure. But we're not going to do the Friday follows today, because I don't, honestly, from the two stories that we covered earlier in this episode, I don't really want to distract from those or have anybody, like, quote unquote, compete with those stories or be attached to those. I think, honestly, the focus should be on those two stories. More so, obviously, the Derek Chauvin verdict, because of the fact that it's human rights. It's human rights for everybody. It's equality for everybody. But yeah, and I'm a jock, so I care about sports. That being said, the great debate last episode, we'll say, I posed a question to you: better treat, a cookie or a brownie? And 54% of you said that you would go with a cookie. I can see why, honestly. Like, I was going to go cookie anyways. I think I did go cookie in the last episode. I'm still a cookie monster for life. I hate myself. My thing is that some of you really caught on to this and texted me, but, like, I didn't know that a cookie brownie was called a brookie to some of you, and I really don't like that. I don't like that at all. So if we could just never call them a brookie again and just call them cookie brownies, because I know they exist. I know you can make both. And honestly, if there was like a time to do that, I don't even make cookies anymore like that. If I'm going to make like a dessert, it's going to be a cookie brownie or a Hershey pie, and I don't make those. I just buy them. I would love to have both, but in this case, I feel as though cookies are a little bit more versatile. You can kind of get away with really any occasion, any holiday, any time of year. Cookies are going to be A1, because when you get to the brownie side, you got to have that whole like center or edge debate kind of thing. And I feel like more people just win overall with cookies. But this week, I posted this sometime last week on my story, but actually based off of the responses, I thought we should just ask you guys, is the light above your stove a nightlight? I personally think it is. Growing up, and I don't think this is just a Latino or a black thing, but growing up, I know that a lot of my Hispanic and black friends, cousins, aunts, uncles, all that jazz, Neighbors. That light was on as a nightlight. And what I started to realize is that the further south you go in this lovely country that is America, they use it as a nightlight too. For whoever said that it's not a nightlight, I'm going to tell you the same thing that we told Uno when they said, like, you can't stack draw 2s and draw 4s. I appreciate your concern and everything like that, but we'll take it from here. All right, because this is the first apartment that light hasn't worked as a nightlight, only because of how much ambient light from the city comes into here. But everywhere else that I've lived, the light above the stove goes on at night. That way you can see where you're going. You don't eat shit moving to and fro. But that thing is a nightlight. And if you don't think so, let me see what you got in the comments. All right. Let me know in the polls, all that good stuff. But yes, like I said, no Friday follows this week, and that's totally fine. Make sure you're checking in on your people, y'all. I don't know why I'm giving life advice towards the end of an episode, but yeah, check in on your people. Make sure everyone that you care about, everyone that you love knows that, all that good stuff. Ooh, your boy takes dose number 2 of his vaccine on Thursday, so the day before this episode comes out. I can only imagine next week's episode is going to be full on about what that was like, because I haven't heard too many good things. But with that being said, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that jazz. I will even take like 5 seconds so that you can like this or subscribe to this. I feel like that's 5 seconds, so hopefully you did it by then. If not, just do it now. It's fine. We're not going anywhere. But yes, don't forget to follow us at Problems on Problems. Don't forget to oh my God. Don't forget to follow us at Problems on Problems podcast on Instagram, at Problems_pod on Twitter. I am blanking. Where else? Oh, you can find us on Amazon Music. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, a lot of other places where podcasts are found. And like always, follow your boy at Mike Santi 18 on all social media. And like I always say, guys, if it's not a good time, hope it's a good story, and I will see you next week.